I don't know if you guys remember, but like 2 days ago, we were looking at this crypto volatility chart, which shows you the volatility in crypto. And we were complaining that crypto has become absolutely boring. And then on the one day that my brother decides that he's going to have a wedding, this is pretty much what happens in the middle of the wedding. I look at the banter bubbles yesterday, and I see all the bubbles are absolutely green. I couldn't believe what was happening. Then obviously I realized, I processed the news that we have got this this XRP ruling, which actually changes everything. It changes the entire game, because it's not actually about the ruling, it's about the detail in the ruling. Because a lot of people said, okay, look, we know that XRP may or may not win the case, and we know we're going to get a favorable ruling, but no one in their wildest dreams could have anticipated the type of ruling that this judge did, because this ruling changes everything. It changes how the market sees airdrops. It changes how the market sees exchanges. It changes how the market sees tokens. It brings the USA back into the game. It is probably the most powerful ruling that we could have hoped for if we were hoping for a good ruling. And I think that this ruling does everything. But I think most of all, what it does is what I tweeted yesterday. And I said, I think that this ruling is actually the beginning of the end for 𝗙𝗿𝗄𝗏. And a lot of people said, okay, well, you're being a bit dramatic. It's not actually the beginning of the end for 𝗙𝗿𝗄𝗏. But I think it is, because I think that for someone who regulates by enforcement, when he cannot regulate by enforcement anymore, because now there's a ruling from a judge, it's now a matter of law. Because in the US, how it works is if something is passed by a judge, it's pretty much it's pretty much considered almost like a law. It's a judicial it's like they've got a judicial I don't remember what the word is, but they've got like a judicial precedent. Then it's almost as powerful as having something in law. So he has now completely lost his absolute powers. Now, here's where it is. Here's where it is. We need to be super careful, because on the one hand, we are seeing that we are in a raging bull market. And I've been talking about this raging bull market now for weeks. A lot of people have been, what's the word? A lot of people have been laughing at me when I said we're in a raging bull market. We're in a raging bull market. I see you guys, every single one of you in the comments going, where is the raging bull market? Where is the raging bull market? Well,
you all laughed at me. Well, I have to say, you're not laughing now, are you?
You're not laughing now, are you? You're not laughing now. And I'll show you why you cannot be laughing. Let me just show you. I want to just quickly share my screen with you guys quickly. And I want to show you why you cannot be laughing. Because if you look at Bitcoin and you look at it on a high time frame, on a 1 month time frame. Now remember, the longer the time frames that you take, the bigger the time frames. Like you go from a daily to a weekly to a monthly. When you go into a monthly, it confirms the trend. Now, if you look at Bitcoin, what you can see is if you look at this trend, we've broken through this downtrend and we're now starting to move up to the uptrend. The last 2 times that this happened, the first time Bitcoin went up 6,500%, Bitcoin, not the altcoins. The next time that we had this breakout, and I'm measuring it from the breakout, we had a 10x or 1,300, a 13x, 1,300%. And now we have this breakout on Bitcoin. But like all bull markets, the bull market starts with Bitcoin. Then what happens, every single bull market starts with the dominance going up and everybody believing that the dominance is never going to go up, never going to go down ever again. And this time it's always Bitcoin. And I always said to you guys that just when you feel like it's only going to be Bitcoin, just when you feel like you want to swap your whole altcoin portfolio into Bitcoin, that is when the most unexpected thing happens and turns the whole market into altcoins. And now you can see 2 things. You can see the total 3, which is the total market cap excluding Bitcoin and ETH, has also broken on the weekly a long-term trend. You can see that's happening over here. You can also see the dominance. We said that it was going to break down. We said that there had to be some kind of decision, and that decision had to happen sometime pretty soon. Now you've got the decision, and you've got the decision of Bitcoin to break down, but of the Bitcoin dominance to break down. But guys, I've got to say this again. It is not over. It is not over. We have to get ourselves ready for whatever may be, whatever may come out. We have to get ourselves ready, and that's what I want to prepare you for. So listen, we don't normally do this, but it's Friday, and the markets are green. So let's go. Don't get too used to it. Don't get too used to it. It's temporary. It's temporary while we celebrate what's going on in the markets. If you want us to keep it, smash a like button. Let us know that you guys are here. Let's get on with the alpha of today's show because there is a lot to talk about, and specifically we need to talk about this market because it's tricky. This market is tricky, and the reason why I say this market is tricky is because there is euphoria in the market in the short term, but on the long term, we know that we're in a raging bull market. And I showed you just some of the indicators that show me that we are still in this raging bull market, which I've been talking about for a long time. In fact, I've been talking about it ever since the market turned. I said, we are in a raging bull market. We are in a raging bull market. Bitcoin was up 80%. Now this bull market's moved because you can see that yesterday's news didn't really do much to Bitcoin. It did a lot for total 3, but I mean, Bitcoin is still at 31,168. If you were to be critical, you could say, well, Bitcoin only moved up $500 and Bitcoin maybe is running out of steam. That's what happens in every single bull market. You get Bitcoin running out of steam, and that's when the dominance starts to drop, and that's when all the money starts moving into the altcoins, and that's starting to happen here. But now it is a little euphoric. You can see this. I don't know how well you can see this chart. I don't know how to get it any brighter. This is the funding rates, and you can see that the funding rates are starting to go up. Now, when funding rates goes up, it means that people want to borrow more to go long on leverage. And when that happens, that means it's usually a sign of euphoria. It's usually a sign of overconfidence. Now, I saw this overconfidence yesterday. And so the first thing that I did was I shorted XRP at 83 cents. It was a great move, or 82 cents. I shorted XRP at 82 cents. Then later on in the day, I said to myself, hold on. Why am I shorting XRP when I know that XRP has a crazy, crazy, crazy community behind them? Why am I shorting XRP? I shouldn't short XRP. What I should do, I just want to show you the trade because I actually might be able to show you this trade over here. Let's just have a look if I can actually show you the trade without showing you all my accounts and all the monies and everything that's going on. So what did I do? I said, listen, what I want to do is instead of shorting XRP, I quickly looked at the Banter bubbles. And what I saw was that there were two bubbles on the daily that were up the most. One was XRP and one was XLM. Now, what was the difference between XRP and XLM? XRP has a very, very, very vibrant community. Stellar Lumens doesn't have a very vibrant community and doesn't have the centralization that Ripple has and all the money that Ripple has. And so I thought the better bet was actually to go short on Stellar. And you can see that trade's actually paid off. Now I'm up 57%. I've made $6,170 on that trade. I took a bit of a Doge position. I've still got an old near position. You can see my Bitcoin position's also up 129%. So right now, short Stellar Lumens. I'm going to hold this short for a long time because I think it's going to probably come down to where it is. And as I said to you, I learned a new trick on the bubbles, which I showed you on Sheldon's show, but I'll show you again on the show on my show today. The best way to trade this market is to go to the bubbles to get short-term indicators, 15 minutes and 1 hour, and you can kind of see in the 1 hour which ones are breaking down and which ones are breaking up. So you can see that Flow on the 1 hour is breaking up, maybe Ape's breaking down, Stellar's breaking down on the 1 hour. This gives you on a short-term time frame what you want to be testing, and then you go back and compare this to a long-term time frame. So let me show you again what I mean. I can see on the daily, Stellar's up 47%. If I look at the hourly, it may be starting to break down because it's down on the hourly, but it's very much up on the daily. So this could indicate the reversal of a pattern. And then I'm going to, and that's when I decide how to trade this. And that's why I'm confident to remain short on Stellar, which is really where I want to be. Also, you'll notice that on the Banter bubbles, we have these blue bubbles now. If you pop the bubbles, there is a chance that you'll win your share of $50,000. So I'm not going to pop it because I want to actually keep this for demonstration purposes, which we'll do at the end of the show. But you can click this bubble, it pops, and inside you could win your share of $50,000 because we want you guys to be using Banter bubbles and downloading it. You can download it on Apple, which there's a link that you can download it on desktop, banterbubbles.com, or you can download it on your Android. So we'll leave links for you guys below. This weekend, we start the $50,000 position. I've showed you guys how to use it, especially in this market that's moving so quickly. But for now, let's get into the XRP ruling and why the XRP ruling changes everything. Now, I said that we could have, a lot of people said, look, we believe that XRP is going to win this court case. And we also believe that when they win the court case, it's going to be monumental for altcoins. But no one could have predicted what we got here. No one could have predicted a well-articulated, well-laid-out argument that now serves as judicial precedent in the United States, which means it's pretty much a matter of law now. Now, Gary Gensler, anything that is the same or similar to this judgment, Gary Gensler basically has a big gun to his head that says, hey, this is not, a judge has already ruled on this. You can't just go out there and you can't just claim that altcoins are securities and stuff like that, because a judge has actually said something completely different. So let's look at what the ruling is and what difference it makes for altcoins. As I said to you, I do think that it changes the entire landscape of altcoins. It brings the US back into the game. It brings exchanges back into the game. It brings tokens back into the game that we thought had maybe lost the fight. So let's actually look at it. So I think to start off, it wasn't a clear win for XRP. It wasn't a clear win for Ripple, because on the one hand there was a win, and then on the other hand there was a slight loss. So as Jeremy Hogan says, congratulations to you, my friends. What I see in a first read through, Judge Torres ended up splitting the baby. So why splitting the baby? Because what the judge found, she found that the institutional sales, the ICO sales, the original sales of XRP to the institutions early in the day, that does constitute the sale of unregistered securities. So that's where we took a slight casualty, if you want to call it that. We took a slight casualty. But that casualty was very, very, very much worth it. Okay, now why was that casualty very, very, very much worth it? Let's look through it. Because the judge ruled that the trade and sale of tokens on the exchanges did not represent the sale of unregistered securities. What the judge basically said is, he said, look, Ripple, the company may be centralized, but people that were buying the tokens on centralized exchanges, some of them didn't even know that there was a company called Ripple behind the XRP token. And there's no way that they could have understood it, because what the judge basically said is that, retail investors are pretty much, I don't want to say it in a bad way, but he pretty much said, look, retail investors are pretty much a bunch of apes, a bunch of plebs. They're not going to be able to understand this, and therefore it's not a security. So he said, she said, look, therefore, having considered the economic reality of the totality of the circumstances surrounding the institutional sales, the court concludes that Ripple's institutional sales of XRP constituted an unregistered offer of an investment. Okay, cool. Then she goes on to the whole retail side of it, and she said, lastly, the institutional buyers were sophisticated entities, including investors, hedge funds, and there is no evidence that a reasonable programmatic buyer, someone buying and selling on exchanges, was generally, he said, shared similar understanding and expectations that could pass through multiple documents and statements that the SEC highlighted, and therefore the programmatic sales on exchanges did not constitute the offer and sell of investment contracts. This is a massive ruling. Let's quickly look at why. So the first thing is, selling tokens on an exchange does not constitute the sale of unregistered securities. That goes for all tokens that are decentralized in nature, that this happens. He said programmatic sales, which then talks about exchanges. What this means is if the tokens are not actually securities, then the exchanges are not dealing in securities. And if the exchanges are not dealing in securities, well, then they are not regulated by the SEC, because the SEC only regulates exchanges that are dealing in securities. But what the judge has pretty much clearly said here is, these are not securities. And if these are not securities, well, then the exchanges are no longer at the mercy of this guy. The exchanges are no longer care about this guy anymore, because hey, we're not even in your jurisdiction. You can't come to us. We're not even part of the stuff that you're supposed to be looking at. So that's the next thing. The other thing that came out of it is that they spoke about airdrops, and they spoke about sales to executives. They spoke about a whole lot of the other things, and the judge deemed that grants, airdrop, XRP distributions to developers, charities, and employees are not securities. The only thing that the court found constitutes an investment contract is the past sale to institutional clients. Pretty much what the judge did here, he said, look, you want to give grants? That doesn't constitute a security. You want to do airdrops? That doesn't constitute a security. You want to pay employees and developers in XRP or in a token? It doesn't constitute a security. because the judge said that a lot of retail investors didn't even know that there was a centralized Ripple company behind the XRP token. So this is a massive, massive, massive ruling. It changes the landscape in the United States. It changes how the exchanges operate. It changes how tokens are going to be seen in the US. And I think what 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗄𝗏 says very, very well, it says the sale of XRP on exchanges is not a security, which means that sales of all cryptos on exchanges are not securities, and the SEC.gov or the SEC and Gary Gensler have no jurisdiction over them. It's a massive moment that relegates the SEC to TradFi and makes it a dinosaur regulator. And as this ruling came out, obviously the one token or the one crypto play that actually exploded was none other than my favorite, which is Coinbase. Now, you'll remember that I've been telling you guys to get into Coinbase at $40. Okay, so at $40, I said to you guys, get into Coinbase because they've got enough money to fight against the SEC. They are completely undervalued. They have been hit really, really hard. Now, you're looking at this. You're looking at an equity, and this equity has almost done 3x in a matter of, I mean, I've been holding it since the beginning of June, so less than 2 months at $40. Here we go. $47. You've 2.5 extra money in less than 3 months, because what the market is saying here is they're saying, look, half the things that Coinbase now have to fight have now been removed, and there is a judgment, there is judicial precedence against this. And so the fight that Coinbase has to fight now is a much, much, much smaller fight, because they can always point back to the XRP case and say, look, you know, we don't know what Gary Gensler is on about in this summons that is issued to us. What we do know is that there is a court that has ruled previously that that Gary Gensler can't be making these claims. Now, 𝗙𝗵𝗕𝗆𝗆, which is obviously 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆's brother, he says, today highlights how the SEC is a failed institution. They completely missed Celsius, whose founder was indicted on criminal charges yesterday. We'll talk about that because I think we do need to talk about Alex Mashinsky. And they took a big loss in the Ripple case. XRP is not a security. They don't know where to swing. And when they do, they strike out. It's time for Congress to cut the enforcement budget and instruct them to stick to guidance and rulemaking. And that's what I said. I think that Gary Gensler's powers are now severely, severely, severely limited. And without Gary Gensler fighting against us, or without him having so much power to fight against us, well, I don't know how much power he's actually got. I don't know how much he can actually do. Funny that when Fox reached out to the SEC, they said, "We are pleased." This is the official response. This is no joke. Crazy response. It's as if they're completely oblivious to what's going on. They're saying, "We're pleased that the court found that XRP tokens were offered and sold by Ripple as an investment contract in violation of securities laws. The court agreed with the SEC that the 𝗬𝗿 tests govern the securities analysis of crypto transactions and rejected Ripple's made-up test as to what constitutes an investment contract, instead emphasizing that 𝗬𝗿 and subsequent cases have held a variety of tangible and intangible assets can be served. Further, the court rejected Ripple's fair notice argument." So they're kind of looking at like the small wins. It's like saying, look, you know, we took you know, we shot two bullets and they actually hit something, but they've actually lost completely lost this battle, and this battle is pretty much gone. And so what you started to get now is you started to get all the exchanges who were in the battle against the SEC, almost like giving a big you to the SEC by saying, as soon as this happened, what do? Well, they're all, and remember, these are all exchanges that are under SEC enforcement or currently in litigation with the SEC. What do? First thing is they all went and listed XRP token. Kraken listed XRP token. Gemini immediately listed the XRP token. Binance US immediately listed the XRP token. Coinbase listed the XRP token. When that happened, when I saw all of this happening, that is when I took my short on Ripple, because I just thought, you know, that's euphoria. It's like a Binance listing. It's like a Binance listing. CZ came in, I think Chad here. He came in with his Chad move, and he said, well, you know, we actually never delisted. We actually never delisted XRP, which I think was like, it's an amazing move by CZ. We've actually become accustomed to it. So now what we're getting is we're getting a massive alt season. And I think this alt season is amazing because it gives you time, it gives you one last opportunity to get rid of the bags, because there's a lot of euphoria now. And in this euphoria, a lot of tokens that we're not used to actually going up are actually going up. So let's quickly look at it on the daily. There are a lot of tokens that, you know, we don't expect them to go up so much, but they are actually going up. And this may give you an opportunity, if you want, to exit some of these tokens and position your portfolios properly for the right narratives for the next bull market. So, you know, instead of trying to ride your old narratives, maybe a better idea is to say, look, I'm getting a pump here. The market is euphoric, but soon the market will come back to reality. And when the market comes back to reality, only certain narratives are going to run. Now, you've got to ask yourself a question. What is going to run and how quickly is it going to run? So I'll show you guys a few ideas of what I think may run and may not run, and then you can decide as to whether you want to keep your current bags, or you want to. I'll give you let me give you one example. So one token that is or did actually ever run is Binance. BNB is back up to 254. Now you got to ask yourself a question: with all the regulatory headwinds that Binance and BNB could face, I'm not saying they will, I'm saying they could. Do you want to be holding a bag of BNB? I mean, I don't know. I'm not telling you to do it or not to do it. I'm saying the risk reward here, to me, is, well, why hold BNB when there's so many other tokens that will run? And again, I love the Binance exchange. I'm friends with CZ. But yeah, I'm looking at this and going, on a risk reward basis, there could still be Department of Justice action against CZ. And when that DOJ action, and if that DOJ action happens, I don't want to be there. I don't want to be holding a bag of BNB. So for me, that is one that I've removed a long time ago from my portfolio. But you've got to ask yourself the same questions about your portfolio. The other thing is we have to get ourselves back into some kind of reality here, because the market is euphoric now. Everybody's celebrating. And to me, that's a very, 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 very scary time in the market. It's a time where on a short-term basis, I must be honest, I'd rather be short than long. So you got to be very, very, very careful how you play this. Like, I'm reading this tweet over here, and it's from 𝗙𝗵𝗆, and he says, so if XRP is not a security, ETH is definitely not a security. ETH ETF next, buy ETH and really buy ETHE, which is the GBTC version of ETH. Now, is that a smart thing to do? Well, I think I agree with him that ETH is not a security. But remember that we still have one major hurdle to get through, which no one's talking about. And we need to talk about it, because what we saw yesterday is we saw tokens like Solana explode up to $28. And we'll talk about that in a second. We saw Cardano explode. You can see it here on the bubbles. On Banter Bubbles, you can see Cardano's up 20% yesterday. And if you look at it on a weekly basis, let's even see if I can see it here, because all the bubbles are so big. Where is ADA? Josh, you need to, yeah, here we go, 22.12%. So question is, is this the best time to be buying ETH? And I strongly disagree with this tweet. And I'll tell you why I strongly disagree with this tweet. First thing is, we still have one major hurdle to get through. The big difference between XRP and all the other tokens that are listed as securities, and I'll show you, these are the tokens that are listed as securities: BNB, ADA, SOL, Matic, BUSD, Atom, ICP, Filecoin. Yeah. These all have one thing in common. And the one thing that they have in common is that you stake them to get yield. You can check it out on staking rewards, right? You can't stake XRP and get yield. There's no yield on validating in the XRP network, or at least you can't stake it and get yield. Whereas Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, BNB, you stake them to get yield. Now, there hasn't been a ruling yet. There hasn't been any ruling yet on tokens that are staked. And what the SEC is alleging, and that's why the SEC has specifically gone for these tokens, is that if you can stake a token and you earn interest on the token, that is a security. That contract is a security because you're earning money for staking your tokens. Now, I think the SEC is totally wrong, but right now there hasn't been a ruling against it. So be careful. Just watch out for what you're reading here. Let's make sure we understand the market better than everybody else. The other thing that he says here, which I strongly disagree with, he says, buy ETHE at a 45% discount. If you buy ETHE, which is the grayscale version of the GBTC trust on Ethereum, yes, you do. You pay a 46% discount to net asset value, but one, you have no idea when they're going to open this fund up and if you're ever going to be able to redeem in this fund. The second thing here is that these people are not staking their Ethereum. And for people staking their ETH, you are getting a return of 4.9%. That means that if you hold it for a couple of years and you can't get your stuff out of a couple of years here, then you're going to have a problem. You're going to lose all the staking yields. So be careful listening to any kind of crazy advice on Twitter. Let's talk about some narratives that actually may run. I liked Fred's narrative this morning. Fred said, "Look, I'm going into meme coins because people are going to see this market running, and the dumb money is going to come in. And when the dumb money comes in, they're going to go for the meme coins." So he took a position in PEPE. I took a position in Doge. I think I took a small position, and I think right now, I mean, I'm up $200. So yeah, I'll show you the position here. I'm up. Here it is. I'm up $200 on that position. I'm up $40,000 in my Bitcoin position. Still holding my Blur position, which is $17,000 in the red, because some of these tokens are just not waking up yet. And they're just not waking up. And I think that that's what we should expect. We should be expecting. Yeah, you can see here that Solana was the best recovering token that was not XRP or XLM. And remember, stellar lumens and XRP always move together. So it's almost like a sympathy pump, or you want to call it that. But the one that recovered the most is Solana. And the reason why Solana recovered the most is because, as I've been saying for a long time, when you look at the fundamentals, when you take out all the noise, and let me just quickly log in here. When you take out all the noise and you say, okay, I want to see the fundamentals here, what you can see from a fundamental point of view, if we remove BNB chain, and I'm going to remove BNB for good reason, because it's under attack by the SEC, a serious attack. And I'm going to leave all the other tokens here. What you can see is that Solana always comes out with the highest daily transactions, almost the highest transaction count. So for me, those are the ones that are going to recover first, the ones that have the strongest fundamentals. So right now, what you should be looking at is you should be looking at tokens that really have strong fundamentals that possibly haven't run. Solana, Matic. Now look at Cardano. Cardano's way below these guys. Now you got to make a decision. I'm not saying yes or no. You make your own decision as to whether you want to be holding this bag or not holding this bag. From a daily active users, you can see that it's lagging on all metrics, but the one metric is not lagging on his market cap. Now, again, I am a holder of Cardano. So full disclosure, I am a holder of Cardano. Someone says Casper, it's not Solana. I am a holder of Cardano, but I'm telling you that this is why Solana recovered first. The next one that may recover very quickly is, let me show you this, is Arbitrum and Optimism. So what you'll see with Arbitrum and Optimism is that from a fundamentals point of view, these guys are actually pretty strong. So these guys are actually pretty strong. You can see there's now two new lines on this chart. One of them is Arbitrum, one of them is Optimism. You can see that from a growth point of view, the ETH layer 2s are probably a good place to be right now. Why? Because they haven't yet run yet. So you look at an Arbitrum. Let's actually look at Arbitrum. You can see that Arbitrum's been pretty flat. So let's quickly look at ARB-USDT. Pretty flat. I mean, it's gone from 112 to 123. That's pretty flat given what the other ones have seen. And remember that later this year, we get an ETH upgrade, which is called 𝗙𝗵4844, which is going to reduce the cost for layer 2 rollups. And that's happening, I think, Q3 this year. So there could be an ETH layer 2 narrative that actually gets kicked off here. The other big narrative that I'm starting to see a lot of stuff about, and you've got to keep your eyes open for this, is what they call RWA. You would have seen this on Twitter. It's called RWA, or real world assets. Now, that is the tokenization of real world assets. And that's going to be one of the biggest industries and one of the biggest use cases for blockchain. And I don't know if you remember, but Larry Fink, when he spoke about Bitcoin, he spoke a lot about, hold on, let me just find this for you. He spoke a lot about Bitcoin, about the tokenization of real world assets, and how Bitcoin is the beginning of the tokenization of debt and a whole lot of real world assets. And that tokenization of real world assets is very, very, very much a narrative at the moment. Now, you can find these tokens on CoinMarketCap, and you go into a section called real world assets, and you can see that things like MakerDAO, Synthetic, Centrifuge, Reserve, All these are the tokens. We also made a spreadsheet. So we'll also publish this spreadsheet for you guys, showing you all the tokens that actually do work on real world assets. We'll look at their market caps, and we'll look at their fully diluted market caps, and you can make a call as to which ones, if any, you want to play in. But it is a narrative that is actually starting to run. I think the other one that might start running is the exchange tokens. The exchange tokens may have a run again. Now, remember, there is an overhang of the derivatives income coming to an end as the industry gets way more regulated. But until then, got to dance while the music's got to dance while the music's playing, guys. We've got to dance while the music's playing, guys. So I think that's some of the narratives that might actually run. I think what we've got to do is we should probably just take stock of where we're at, because the market is very hot and very euphoric. But there is a lot of good news in the market. And I think what we need to do is just quickly understand why I've been saying for a long time that we are in a raging bull market, and how this raging bull market is actually starting to come together. Now, if you believe, someone says, fix the screen quality. I can't see the text on the screen. Is that true? Josh, is that true? There's something wrong with the screen quality.
No, it looks good to me.
Okay, so someone's just got a bad internet connection. He's blaming it on us. Anyway, let's talk about all the good news in the market. I think what we're going to do is actually say, look, where are we? Let's understand where we're at. And I think I want to start off by looking at this chart over here, which is the Bitcoin monthly chart, which shows a breakout. And the breakout happened around Feb 2023, which is actually when we started calling and saying, look, we are now fully convinced that this is a raging bull market. And I've been saying raging bull market on every single podcast or show that I've been on Kitco News, on Altcoin Daily. I've been saying raging bull. People have been laughing at me. Well, they're not laughing now. These people aren't laughing now. Let's just look at where we're at. So the first thing is the inflation narrative is pretty much gone. We've got inflation at 3% on an annualized basis. The inflation narrative is going to get much better. Yesterday, we had PPI, which is the producer price index, which is the manufacturer's view on inflation. Now, this one happens ahead of the CPI. Now, we had that PPI going down to 0.1% year on year. You understand that if it carries on like this, not only is inflation gone, but we actually start to become deflationary. So we go from being inflationary to being deflationary. Okay, so inflation is pretty much gone. Now, the other thing, what 𝗙𝗵𝗆𝗆 says, he says, after wiping out or arresting most of the bad actors, having the largest institutions on earth filing for ETFs, and the macro picture shifting, Bitcoin is at the same price it was trading at in May 2022. Feels like gross mispricing. And I think I agree with him, because if we are now where we were when we are now exactly where Luna collapsed, or where Bitcoin happened just after Luna collapsed, and so many other things have happened that it just feels like it's not right. So inflation's come down, PPI's come down, CPI's come down. You got the former head of the SEC saying that he thinks that an ETF is going to get approved. You've got Europe approving their first Bitcoin spot market ETF. And I did some research. The European ETF market is about $1 trillion, and that's all the money in ETFs. And if you look at, see someone's here, Manolet, you're late, but you're present. We're going to give you homework. It's just, okay. I see people, it's the same person still complaining about the screen. I think you need to reboot your computer, my friend. We have, so the market, the European ETF market is about 1/5 of the size of the ETF market in the United States. So you can see here that the European ETFs are around $1 trillion market, and US ETFs are about a $5 or $6 trillion market. Okay, so I mean, it is big news. And then we also have an ETF. We also have an ETF application that is happening now in Australia. So Australia also gearing themselves up for an ETF. Someone says Injective is flying. We will go back to the bubbles and we will look at altcoins together, and we can talk about them together at the end of the show. The other thing is, I saw we need to talk about this, which is also amazing news that's happened in the last couple of days. Google Play changing their policy on tokenized digital assets, allowing NFTs and in-app games. This for me is an absolute game changer. Like, when Google starts allowing NFTs, games, digital asset ownership, then you're opening up a market that was closed. Now, a lot of this is going to do with Solana's founder, 𝗙𝗿𝗄𝗵𝗁, because of the App Store and stuff like that. But yeah, hold on. Someone says, let me unshare my screen. I'll stop my screen share, and I will re-share my screen for those people complaining about the screen. Okay, that must be better. That must be better. That must be better. We also have a new bill in Parliament in the US. Now, this bill is a bipartisan bill, which means that both parties are behind it, Democrats and the Republicans. This is Senator Cynthia Lummis. And in this bill, they want to transfer the power of regulating or of policing the industry from the SEC to the CFTC, which are much more pragmatic in their approach. So if you look at it, places crypto assets within the regulatory perimeter, fully regulates crypto asset exchanges, safeguards consumers, promotes responsible innovation. So now you've got a bipartisan bill with talking about exactly this. Just listen to a few minutes of this.
Let's go is right. We need a regulatory framework that integrates crypto assets into our economy and in a way that ensures consumer protection. So we need to make sure that we have exchanges that are registered with the CFTC. We need to make sure that illicit finance is addressed, that we have adequate penalties.
So she says
we make sure
registered
that
with the registered with the CFTC. So they want to get it out of the SEC's grubby paws, and they want to put it with the CFTC because the CFTC just seem to be more pragmatic in their approach. Also, yesterday we have Ritchie Torres, who's a Republican. I think he's a senator. He's a congressman. And he is now saying that he wants them to investigate how Prometheum got a digital asset license in the States. Remember that company, Prometheum, and he says that the SEC have got to stop running around and overzealous traffic cop arbitrarily ticketing drivers while keeping the speed limit a secret. That's the best description that I've heard about what the SEC is doing. So I think there's a lot to be bullish about. But when this happens, you've got to be careful. Be careful not to put too much money in now and put it into the wrong things because you're just chasing pumps. So just before we go into another section of the show, let's look at the bubbles. See, what I'm looking at, I look at them on the 15-minute. So on the 15-minute, I can see that there have been a breakout. Injective has broken out. Optimism has broken out while we've been here live on the show. 𝗬𝗏 has broken out. Stellar Lumen, slight recovery. See, so now when I get a bubble like this, immediately I'm going to go check on my position. On my Lumen's position, you can see, okay, I'm still up 5,600. But now, because I've caught it on a very short time frame, I can quickly watch it on the hourly time frame. And if I see that on the hourly time frame, it is changing, then I start worrying about my short-term position. Obviously, I'm not worried about my long-term positions here at all. But it just gives you an idea of how effective and how practical it is to just use these bubbles to make decisions. I think another big story we should talk about, big story, is this story over here. I have to get a few. So I'm going to take you back to my old days at CNBC.
Earns 24%.
I know you guys, a lot of you guys don't know, but I actually launched the world's first televised crypto show on CNBC. It was called CNBC Crypto Trader. This is an interview. Thank heavens I wasn't in this interview, but this was actually my show.
Example, Celsius Network pays interest once a week. We can put 1 billion people on the Ethereum platform using Celsius. We are an ERC20 token, and we can support that application tomorrow. There's no problem with scale. Only way today for everybody on the planet to earn 7% interest, 7 times more than the bank, is using the blockchain, using Bitcoin, using stablecoins.
You realize you just said something that's impossible, right? Everyone on the planet to earn 7% interest, right? You realize you just said that, right?
Possible.
It is impossible. The money doesn't grow on trees. You can't give everyone 7% a year.
Bank earns 24% on your money. The point is, their business, the business model is taking your money and giving it to someone else. Okay? Insurance broker gives 95% of your value.
The problem with this is very typical in this space. Exactly. Let's call bull. People identify real problems in the world and then present some sort of nonsensical vision of, a beautiful world in which everyone pays 9 and everyone receives 7%. And somehow that's supposed to be a solution. It's not a solution. Yes, banks do take advantage of people. The reasons are institutional and political.
Can they pay 7% today without losing money?
There are a lot of things wrong with banking.
Yes or no? Yes or no?
I'm just here to
Can the bank pay
the ridiculous
7%
notion
today
that you're not going to offer 7%.
Right, okay.
Yes or no?
This is just another.
Okay, so in case you don't know the players here, that's 𝗙𝗵𝗕 is a big Bitcoin maximalist. That's 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, big Bitcoin maximalist. And this is Peter McCormack, obviously you know him, also a big Bitcoin maximalist. And they were on a panel with Alex Mashinsky. Now, anyway, where are we on Mashinsky? Mashinsky was arrested yesterday. You all know that. It was amazing that when he was arrested, the SEC, DOJ, CFTC, and FTC all sued him and charged him at the same time. So as if they coordinated. They said, okay, we're going after Mashinsky, and they all sued him at exactly the same time. So he now has been released on bail. He's been released on $40 million bail, which is secured by his wife and his Manhattan residence and whatever else. And now he starts a huge fight. But I think in this fight, I can't see him coming out here because there's token manipulation, there's complete lying, there's using the Celsius investors' funds as his own hedge fund, for lack of a better word. I just can't see how he gets out of this. I just don't see how he gets out of this. I think he's going to do a lot of time in jail, I think. All right, let's a few things. One is if you haven't already got 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, I told you these Friday shows are brought to you by NordVPN. They have a product called 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is a product that keeps you off these black market databases, and these people that are market to you illegally, they'll actually even remove you off them. So go and get the deal. I think it's like $6 a month or something like that. Also, if you haven't got a 𝗘𝗵𝗏 campaign, a 𝗘𝗵𝗏 account, go and get a 𝗘𝗵𝗏 account as soon as possible. There's a link below. Tell you why. They're starting the World Series of Trading competition. And when they start the World Series of Trading competition, we're going to have a special section called the whale room. And inside that whale room, you're going to get a whole lot of perks, but you've got to be a 𝗘𝗵𝗏 member using one of the Crypto Banter links. So do it now so that you got it. Also, you'll get an amazing sign-up bonus. And then I think just before we go, okay, well, thank you. That's the whale room. Okay. Before we go, let's quickly look at the bubbles. Let's quickly look at the altcoins. Let's see if there's anything happening in the altcoins. Let's look at it quickly on the 15-minute time frame. Nothing moving on 15 minutes. Let's look on the hour. Radix up 4.93%. Let's just see where it is. It's at 6.5. Oh, yeah, 6.5 cents. Optimism, Injective again. Injective's going to hit $10. 967. Oof, I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Dogecoin, slight breakout on the 1 hour, so probably worth looking at. I'm in Dogecoin at 7 cents. So let's just see where it is now. 7.04. So it's kind of like at my entry price. Let's see what else. Zilliqa, someone says SPF, Injective close to $10. Should I pop the bubble? Let me pop the bubble. I think. Look, let's see. I'm gonna pop this bubble. Okay, I think it's gonna take me to Sniper School. By the way, if you haven't already signed up for Sniper School, sign up for Sniper School. It's the last cohort that we're gonna do for free. So, I mean, a course like this will cost you $3,000 or $4,000. This is the last time we're doing it for free. Click on the link below. You can get into Sniper School. You got a couple of weeks to get in, and then it's finished. That's it. Gone. No more free Sniper School. Anyway, listen, I'm going to see you guys again on Monday, unless something crazy happens on the markets. I'll keep you updated on my trades on Twitter. So if you're following me on Twitter, I'll keep you updated on my trades. Otherwise, sending you guys much love. See you guys again on Monday. Until then, trade well, my friends.